Issue number 2. Oh man, I'm like going. It's lunchtime here, but this is important stuff.
Yeah.
One is gay identity, and I've indicated that I've had a shift in this for me, from just being willing to say, "Oh, you're gay as long as you love Jesus," and not involved in same-sex sexual behavior or promoting same-sex marriage. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's ontologically laden, there's ontology laden with that term that gives me serious pause in terms of referring to one as gay. I think you can make the case, I know you're aware of this, that it's Freudian language, not biblical language. Tell us your position before we jump in, maybe just for clarity, on what you think about whether Christians can or should. Is it not wise? Is it just like morally wrong to do so? Should they do it? Is it an agree to disagree issue? Tell me what you think about it.
I would say if anybody who says they're a Christian has an identity that is not ultimately, or let me reverse it, if their identity is not first and foremost in Christ and everything else flows from that, then I think that's a fundamental flaw, and it's going to lead to discipleship problems down the road. I think this applies to all of us. I think we all have important aspects of our life that are often competing with our ultimate identity in Jesus Christ. For many people, not to get spicy, but their allegiance to a certain political party.
I was wondering when you're going to go there.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll bring that up. Or even being an American. Like if I said, are you American, Sean? You would have to say yes.
I'd say absolutely, to be honest.
Well, and that is a kind of identity.
Sure.
Now,
I
can
agree.
your American lowercase I identity, hopefully, compete at times with your Christian identity? I think we all battle that. I do. I mean, even like you're a professor. I used to be a professor. Being a pastor struggle with this too. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm a pastor. I'm a husband even. Like we have important aspects of our life that should never take the throne of Jesus. They should all flow from that. If my American identity is at all in competition with my Christian identity, I have to choose Jesus over my American identity. So when it comes to one's sexuality, 100%, if their sexual, let's just say their sexuality, their sexual experiences, their sexual attraction, if that is in any way competing with their allegiance to Jesus, then I would say that is absolutely fundamentally wrong. To answer what I think your question, if somebody says, I am gay and I'm a Christian, I'm going to say if your quote-unquote gayness is taking precedent over your Christianness, then that is problematic. In a similar way that if I said I'm American, or you might say, well, American's a neutral designation. Maybe if I said my mom is divorced, if she says, are you married or single or what are you? Well, I am divorced. Well, that's an I am statement. There was some maybe sin wrapped up into that, so that might be closer to the parallel. All the analogies are going to break down. But yeah, if anybody says, I am fill in the blank, and that is competing with your allegiance to Jesus, then that is problematic.
Okay, this is interesting and helpful, I think, for people to see. All of us agree primary identity should be in Jesus. Yeah. And we have other things a part of our identity. I'm from California, like you said. I think the distinction you made is interesting about, is it a moral distinction or not? So I don't know if divorce is going to get us to identifying as gay. Because divorce is not an ongoing, presumably, not an ongoing sin that somebody is in, or saying this is a good thing that I'm embracing. It's actually a broken thing that the person, nobody that I'm aware of says they're proud of that unless they escaped some kind of terrible thing. It's usually like, I'm divorced. Yeah, that was painful. That hurt. I don't see that approach when it comes to gay identity, even if it's not claimed to be essential. There is a sense of like pride, and I don't know if that's the best term for it, but there is a positive sense of like, I own this, I'm leaning into this, and does that carry with it certain baggage? That it's different to say it's competing with Christianity. Like, I agree with you, my Americanism shouldn't compete with Christianity. But I don't think anybody has an issue with saying this could be a subset of my Christian faith. But a gay identity competes with Christianity by its very nature. That's where I think the difference is from the examples that you gave.
So this part of the conversation is intrinsically connected to whether same-sex attraction is a sin.
That's right. Maybe we'll just cover them both.
Yeah. And maybe it'll weave in and out. When someone, there's like 5 things I want to say all at once. Let me say just quickly. I think people use the term gay in many different ways. So I think it is a case-by-case basis. So I don't want to make a categorical like everybody that describes himself as being gay is doing it out of pride and it intrinsically is opposed to a biblical worldview. Like I think, I want to, going back to the complexity of linguistics, I want to say, what do you mean by that term? 10 people use that term and mean 8 different things, really. So when someone says gay, I just take that until they explain it more as a synonym for being attracted to the same sex, not the opposite sex. And that's going to open up right after.
It will, yeah.
Yeah. So aside, try to explain this aside from that. Aside from how we understand same-sex attraction, if someone says they are attracted to the same sex and not the opposite sex, I don't think I can conclude right now that is therefore their ultimate identity. Or even that they see it positively. I know some people, maybe a minority of people, but some people who might say I'm gay, and it's kind of like, yeah,
I'm not proud of that. Wish I could change it.
Yeah, in fact, most people I know early on, Greg Coles talks about this a lot. That he identifies as gay and a Christian, but he says early on it was horrifying. He talks about lying in his bed as a teenager and just after years of realizing he's tempted more by men than women, saying out loud, "I'm gay," and just the horrifying. He said his body just felt just like terrified by that because that was the worst thing that could be. So even in that moment, if you want to take that as an example, like there's an example where somebody said, "I am gay," and it was not. It was like this horrifying kind of aspect that they were wrestling with. So this is with the gay identity, it's just I think there's so much diversity within how individuals are using it. I'm going to take an individual and sort of unpack, what do you mean by this term?
Okay, that's fair. And that's helpful because people use it in a lot of different ways. Let me push back on this, though. I think for clarity might be helpful. It is you said in a case-by-case basis, when somebody says they're gay, you want to know what they mean. And you take it as same-sex attracted, at least initially. Yes. There is a very interesting exchange on your website between, I think it's Greg Coles and Rachel Gilson, and whether we should identify as gay. That is one of the most helpful back and forths that I've seen. And it seems like Greg takes more the position that you're taking. And Rachel's like, look, in the shared space of where I act, and she's with crew on college campuses, gay doesn't mean same-sex attraction.
Okay, sure.
This is my identity, and what comes with that is a sense that I'm open to a same-sex relationship.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yes.
So there might be some individuals who mean that differently, but I'd say then don't use that term because that's the shared space about how everybody assumes it.
I agree, 100%.
So when a Christian says, I'm gay, that's going to lend towards, I have 2 problems with that. Number one is it carries with it a certain sense of this is a part of my identity, and should it be, given what gayness may involve, and confusion with the culture over what gay is. So I guess for me, and this is, I think Rachel pointed this out, and this is another shift in my thinking, is there are individuals who'd say, I'm a gay Christian, but I don't practice it, I'm against same-sex marriage. And for a while I was like, awesome, we're redeeming the term, we have people who might open up the door for conversation. Now I'm going, no, don't define yourself that way at all, because our culture is going to go, wait a minute, you don't mean the same thing by this that I even mean by it. So I think that's the problem. If you're assuming it means same-sex attracted, why not use same-sex attracted, especially unless I'm mistaken about this, when the vast majority of people are not using it to refer to the same thing, at least outside of the church.
I don't know. Yeah, I think context certainly matters. And I should have clarified that up front. I think there are certain contexts where if somebody is comfortable using the term gay, that they should not use the term gay, because it could lack clarity. It could be misleading if the audience is hearing something you're not trying to communicate. Let me give two quick examples. So like if, I'll just use Greg as an example. Greg's a good friend of mine. I'm sure you've chatted with him before.
I've actually never met him.
Oh, you never met him?
Nope.
Oh,
Seen him online. Enjoyed his debate with James White. Was interesting. But anyways, keep going.
He wrote a book called Single Gay Christian. Going back to a point you made at the very beginning, Sean, it was endorsed by D.A. Carson, founder of the Gospel Coalition back in 2018, before this was an issue. And this is where Greg, and I would even say, I haven't shifted at all. I think people have shifted in their heightened concern for some of these things. Anyway, celibate gay Christian. If he goes into a conservative church to preach and he introduces himself cold turkey, "Hi, my name is Greg. I'm a gay Christian. Now open up to Romans 1 and we're going to talk." That would be disastrous. You have just been very unclear, because if it's a very conservative church, all they're going to hear is you affirm same-sex marriage, or you endorse a certain political ideology. They're going to have all the baggage that you kind of described that Rachel might encounter in her context. That term gay is going to miscommunicate what he's trying to say and is going to put relational walls up and is going to be unhelpful. Now, same person, Greg, say he's, I don't know if you've heard me use this illustration before, but say he's in Starbucks reading his Bible. He often reads his Bible in public places. He's a zealous Jesus follower. And say in walks a non-Christian gay person and looks down and says, "Oh, reading the Bible, huh? You must be a Christian." And Greg says, "Yeah, I'm actually a pastor." And the guy says, "Well, must be nice. Unfortunately, I'm gay, so I can't be a Christian." And that's a very prevalent thing, that if you're
I've had that happen to me.
Yeah. What would be more missiologically helpful for Greg to say, "Oh, well, actually, I wrestle with the sin of same-sex attraction too," or if he said, "Oh, I'm gay too"? And what that person means is not necessarily. Yeah. You're going to say, "Well, by gay he means affirming same-sex." It depends. I think for a lot of people, they think simply by the fact that I'm attracted to the same sex, the Christian church and Christianity won't touch me. The Christian God wants nothing to do with me. And I am excluded simply because I'm attracted to the same sex. By Greg using the term gay, I would say that's more missiologically helpful to deconstruct that warped view that if you're same-sex attracted, you cannot be in God's favor, than if he sort of uses a Christian term that's just not going to resonate with that kid. The guy's going to say, "I don't know what you just said, but that's not who I am,"